So if you have found this page, great. If not, I mean, you know where far to look. There are a bunch of safety symbols. You guys should have seen these before at some point, and if you haven't, well, that's why I'm showing you now. So this could be review for some of you, could be brand new. These symbols have a name. What is it? 5 letters, starts with a W. Does anyone? Yes. Someone remembers. WHMIS. These symbols have a name. They are connected to the WHMIS system. WHMIS is WHMIS. It is an acronym. Do you know what WHMIS stands for? You just know that WHMIS is a thing? Okay. Does anyone know what WHMIS stands for? Okay. WHMIS stands for, the W stands for workplace. The H stands for hazard. The M stands for, or actually hazardous, not hazard. The M stands for material, information, system. So rather than having large blocks of text on every single chemical, I mean, there are large blocks of text on every single chemical container that we have here, but not everyone speaks the same language walking into the lab. And so for a few reasons, one being the language barrier, 2 being you can look at a picture way quicker than you can wrap your head around a paragraph of text. This workplace hazardous material information system was developed so that you have at a glance the information that you need to handle whatever it is you're working with safely. So this is the system. There are 10 pictographs that all mean different things. They look like this. This symbol is supposed to represent a gas cylinder. So let's start with the only gas cylinder I have in this box. Is this guy over here, the fire extinguisher. Fire extinguisher. The WHMIS symbols on this guy. It's not added. Oh, it totally does. Are right here. They're not very big, but if you're holding it, it's really clear what these things are. I'll throw it into the document camera so you guys can all see. Looks like this. Those 2 symbols there. I will focus this a little bit better. Zoom in, focus. So we have these 2 symbols. This is the gas cylinder. That is the exclamation mark. And these things all have meaning. Everywhere you might work that will have anything like this, there's training that everyone has to go through to make sure that at least there's been an attempt made to teach you guys what these symbols do and what the chemicals are that are connected to those symbols. So the gas cylinder is the first one. Does anyone know how to take a guess at what it would mean to put a gas cylinder image onto something like that? Yep, Mahib. Sorry?
Don't burn yourself.
Good guess, but burning would usually include the flame.
Right. Health hazardous.
A gas cylinder means things are under pressure. Means that if given the right opportunity, the fire extinguisher could explode. Or if it were to fail, it could fail catastrophically. So this symbol is whatever's inside is under pressure. And this symbol is going to show up on a bunch of stuff. If you have like a spray deodorant, that symbol will, or quite possibly could be on there. More likely though, this symbol would be on there. Explosive. So this first one, the gas cylinder on the fire extinguisher, means that whatever's there is under pressure. The next one is the flame. It means whatever you have is flammable. This symbol would also show up on your spray deodorant, which is both good and bad. It lets you know that you can start fires with these things, which can be a lot of fun. Also lets you know that it's flammable, so maybe you shouldn't start fires with these things. This symbol here, the flame over the circle, that circle is actually supposed to be the letter O. That right there is a letter. And what that symbol means is that whatever this symbol is on, this object will provide oxygen, and when you provide oxygen to something, you increase whether or not it's going to be flammable. So that produces or allows oxygen to be produced, makes things more flammable. That's an explosion. I think that goes fairly straightforward. The chemical is highly reactive. It is an explosive hazard. This means corrosive. I'll zoom in so that we can see it a little clearer. So you can see that whatever the chemical is, it's eating away at this block or it's eating away at the hand. It means that the chemical can burn or destroy eyes, skin, metals. We have acids in the lab that we're going to play with. I use the term play kind of loosely, but we have played with them before. So I've had students in the past. I was a Science 10 a couple years ago. They said, well, how bad are these things really? I said, well, let's figure it out. So one girl brought in a pair of old jeans that didn't fit her anymore, and we put different acids and different other chemicals in different sections on the jeans and then let them sit. And some of them burnt clear through the jeans, and some of them just bleached the jeans and so changed the color. Some of them just disintegrated the jean underneath. So all sorts of different effects can occur when you have a symbol that looks like this. To varying degrees, what you have will burn or corrode through things. The exclamation mark was the other thing that was on that fire extinguisher. It says may cause less serious health effects, or it may damage the ozone layer. So in the case of the fire extinguisher, it's a powder fire extinguisher. So as far as if you sprayed it on someone, it would make it really difficult for them to breathe. It would get inside their lungs, it would irritate their lungs, but beyond that, it wouldn't do much. Is an example of what may cause less serious health effects could be. Which is actually why, part of the reason why a fire extinguisher actually makes a really good self-defense thing. If you find yourself in need of defending yourself, a fire extinguisher is really handy because it's heavy, it's hard, and it makes it difficult for other people to see and breathe, which is kind of exactly what you want if, someone is attacking you. Pro tip, fire extinguisher, not just for putting out fires. This symbol is a health hazard, so this one could cause serious health effects. So this one, but serious health effects not related to corrosion. Things like asbestos would be something here, like a long-term cancer-causing chemical. The skull and crossbones means that swallowing, licking, we never do this. Bad, never. Do not do this in the lab. Or breathing the chemical will cause serious health effects, including death. Toxicity will result even with small amounts. The skull and crossbones is a fairly straightforward one. That's kind of the universal symbol for this thing's going to kill you. The biohazard symbol is a fun one. This material contains harmful microorganisms, so this one's connected to bacteria and viruses specifically. Likely these two will show up together, or often they will show up together. And then this one shows up, this one is you've got your dead fish, you've got your dead tree, may cause damage to the aquatic environment. So lots of what we have can do that, which is why we have disposal beakers that we'll place in the lab. You won't drop everything down the drain. Some things you can, some things you can't. There are more symbols than just these, but these are the ones that are going to be most prevalent or most common on the stuff that we're going to work with in class. The most notable one that's not here is the nuclear one. Do you guys know what that one looks like? No? You don't know what it's a fun one too. Looks like this. You can draw it. It's kind of got a wedge, and then another wedge, and then another wedge. They're all supposed to be the same size. I'm not doing a very good job of that. This is another one that exists. It means that whatever you have is radioactive. We'll talk about what that means when we get to the physics unit, for those of you who have never looked at it before. Nothing we have in the lab that you guys will be using is radioactive. We do have some radioactive stuff, but you're not allowed to play with it for obvious reasons. And there are whole books that contain more symbols. These are just the ones that are going to be most common. Questions, comments, concerns about any of these? Okay. Then this is the only other thing that I'm going to be talking about today. Just kind of forcing you guys to take a look at this page, engage with it a little bit, and then the rest of this block is going to be for you guys to work through a few things. So yesterday I gave you guys your lab diagram. Anyone who's not finished will have time to do that. In addition to that, I want you to take a look at this page here. This is a couple pages that force you guys to go and engage with these WHMIS symbols. As much as you can, label them from memory if you can. If you need to go back and take a look, feel free to go back and take a look. It's forcing you guys to go and look at what I just tried to get you to look at. And there's a bunch of questions on WHMIS. Why the pictures, which I did address. If these three pictures showed up on something, what does that mean? In your own words. And then there's a last question here. You've been told that a chemical behaves a certain way. What symbols do you think should show up? What are the hazards associated? And then what kind of precautions should you take? And if you finish the diagram and if you finish these questions, I photocopied this out of order. I apologize. I also want you to go back and take a look at this. Based on the conversation we had yesterday when we were in the lab, all the things that we should and should not do, I present to you this picture. There are at least 15 horrendous decisions being made by the 5 people in the lab. I've had students come up with more than 15, but there are at least 15. Find all of the problems based on stuff that we've talked about, based on stuff that you've learned before about lab safety. And then tomorrow we're going to go through this page, the WHMIS stuff, and you will be handing in your lab diagrams. So I'll go back and open up the lab as soon as I'm done talking to Mr. DeVries. You guys have your tasks on your market set giver.